What's holding you back? What's holding you back from being the most prepared you can be, as prepared as you want to be? Uh, Unless you're at the top, there is something holding you back. And there is something that I know is holding a lot of people back, and I'm going to talk about that today. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. For those of you who are with us over on the Patreon channel, I just put one up over there. Uh, it was a very interesting one, and I'll tell you what the title was if it's here. If you're not with us on Patreon, you ought to come over there. Yesterday, I put up one about carrying SOB, small of back, and about holsters and things like that. Today it was something different, and I'm not going to tell you what it was about, but I did give some Chuck Norris news. That the people over there are the first ones to hear. I'll sneak it in a little bit here. Yesterday, a friend of mine came by, a good buddy, who is and some of you Stonemonters will be interested to hear this, who is, among many other things, he's was one of the most feared fighters in full contact karate back in the day, and among many other things, he is a co-producer of the upcoming Chuck Norris movie. Yes, you didn't know there was another Chuck Norris movie coming out, did you? Well, there is. I don't know how much to tell you about it. I'll just tell you that it's going to be, because he told me all about it, and I'll just tell you that it's going to be his final movie, and there are a lot of cool people in it, and it's a great story. Interestingly, I will also say that there is just talk at this point, about making the Stonemont series a movie. Now, I don't know anything about the movie business. A lot of times these things just they talk. Sometimes they start off with talk and something gets done. It'd be great. I would love it if my books were made into a movie. And I know a lot of you have said the same thing. By the way, if you are new and you don't know what in the world I'm talking about, I'm the author of the Stonemont series. I don't have the whole set to hold up for you because we've run out again and I'm waiting for the next shipment to come in. The Stonemont series, which begins with the reversion, and then there's 5 more already out: the revival, the renewal, and appeal to heaven, the blessings of freedom, and hostages to fortune. And those are available. You can get them on Amazon. I'll put the links down below. Or directly from me through our website, stonemont.us. And then if you order them from me, I get to autograph them for you. And I love doing that because I love my relationship with my readers. Okay, let's get to what's holding you back. I have a friend who loved to fight. Loved to fight. From golden gloves all up through full contact karate, kickboxing, everything like that. Loved it. He did not come up off of the streets, and for that he took he caught a lot of shade, as they say nowadays. He caught a lot of shade from others in the fight game. If you know anything about a fight game, and I'll interject here in case you don't know much about me. I trained martial arts. I taught martial arts for many years. I trained MMA fighters. I published a martial arts magazine, not the slicks that you see at the grocery store made for 12-year-olds, but a serious one that went out to all the serious guys around the country and Europe and Canada and Australia. And I talked about just a second, be right back with you. People keep calling me when I try to make these videos. So I spent a lot of time in fight gyms. And I'll tell you, to be honest, what you see on, what you see in the movies, can seem very, very uplifting. But when you look behind the scenes, it's very, very different than most people realize. If you haven't spent a lot of time in fight gyms, you don't really know what it is. Well, I spent a lot of time, like I say, with the fighters and boxers, kickboxers, MMA fighters, things like that. And all of them had this dream of going to the top. That's what drives them to the top, right? And most of them came off the streets. I mean, they came up from, fighting on the streets and trouble with the law or trouble with this, trouble with that. They had lives, and this is why I'm not a big promoter of fights. With a rare exception of the guy who makes some money and gets to the top, there are thousands of guys who never make it, whose lives are destroyed, who end up not being able to talk well because all the shots they've taken to the head, and really whose lives end up to be a mess. The fight game, it's like cockfighting. I don't train people anymore because it's for entertainment of others to see two men try to destroy each other, and I don't mean to offend anybody here who likes the fights, but it's not for me. Not for me. I'd rather see people build up. Well, anyway, let's get back to my friend and what's holding you back. All these guys were trying to hit the top and thinking that they were doing everything that it took. And all the time kind of talking, behind his back. They wouldn't do it in front. Behind his back about, well, this guy, the hits he was taking is he wasn't off the streets. He was from an affluent family. He's a rich kid. He didn't come off the streets. You know who this guy became? World champion kickboxer, undefeated, 8 years. Some of you who followed the fight game or know back there, or you can Google him. Bob Thunder Thurman, very close friend of mine. He was one of my groomsmen when Kelly and I got married. You know why he was able to go to the top? Because he trained so hard. He came up, he loved fighting. He fought Golden Gloves, and then he trained with Jim Harrison's system in Bushidokan. He got his black belt in Bushidokan under Steve Mackey, another legend. And then trained with other people. He trained and trained and trained. He trained hard. He trained like none of these other guys would. All these other guys that hung around that thought they were training very hard in the gyms, spending a lot of their time going, oh, woe is me, if I could only get a break, if I could only do this, if I could only do that. They weren't supporting their families very well. I remember one night a guy coming up to me in a fight gym and saying that he was just trying to get enough money to buy his daughter a birthday cake. It was her birthday, and he was going to go over and visit her because she didn't live with him because he wasn't taking care of his family, but he wanted to get her a birthday cake. I thought that was to him, this was like the big thing. He didn't realize that the big thing would have been to apply himself in all the avenues that he could and take care of his daughter and take care of his family. That's a little side shot there. So all these guys thought they were doing everything. Thurman was doing it. He was doing it, and he was training hard, and he was coachable. He was listening to his trainers. He was doing everything it took. And he came up through the PKA when kickboxing was kickboxing, and he won the world championship. Well, all these other guys were moaning and all this, and he defended that title. He was undefeated for 8 years until, while he was training one time at a Bushidokan dojo, his wife got shot in the head in a street robbery. She survived. I've told that story before. I won't tell it here. I'll tell it over on Patreon maybe another time. And he had two more fights on his ESPN contract that he had to fight. He was called the man back in the day who built ESPN because ESPN was just getting started, and they carried so many of his fights on ESPN to get people on there. He was also the only martial artist ever featured in Sports Illustrated until just recently. He defended that world title undefeated, retired undefeated after 8 years, and then left in order to start teaching self-defense for women and others, but corporate self-defense, which he does now, still does. If anybody is interested, his company name is Counterattactics. If you're in a business or a corporation that needs that kind of stuff, you couldn't find anybody better. Get a real world champion to show you what to do. The lesson here is that while a lot of people grumbled and groaned and thought they were down for the struggle, because they were down there, they were the salt of the earth, they were the little people in their minds, but they were the real people. In their minds, they were the real people. And that this other guy, the affluent guy, he wasn't real. He didn't know what it took. He wasn't tough. He wasn't this. He wasn't that, right? And who became world champion? None of them became world champions. Most of their lives continued to be messes like they had made them. My son's trying to be quiet. He's coming in from school. Hi, buddy. And their lives just went on. But you know what satisfied them? Their continued grumbling. And half of them are still, now I know guys in their 50s and 60s who are still spending time in the fight gym when they ought to be out doing other things. They never grew beyond that point. They never matured as a person. And so what I'm talking about here is the importance of maturing as a prepper or in the preparedness circle. I see a lot of the same kind of, how should I say, resentment from people who think that, you have to live in the woods or you have to, live a bare subsistence to be able to really call yourself a prepper. And they don't progress. They don't progress past that. They continue to fight a defensive game and then continue to explain their failure to grow in preparedness by saying, well, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not, I'm not after the money. I'm not after this. I'm not affluent. I'm just a little guy. I'm gonna survive in the wood. Country boy can't survive kind of stuff, which is a bunch of junk. And that's holding them back. That's holding them back because they won't, first off, they won't do it on their own. Secondly, they won't learn from others. They won't learn from people like me and others who will say, you can do better. You can do better. Preparedness is not just being able to do with very little, although that's part of it. You can, Preparedness is about building your resources so that you can survive many other threats in the world. I know many people, I don't know them personally, I know of them. I know of many people who have really, come off promoting the bedrock, the prepper kind of situation. And then when they get hit with something, a truck problem, or somebody just dropped something, or a financial problem, it destroys them. It destroys them because they weren't ready. You see, they thought that being prepared meant having a bunch of stuff in 5-gallon buckets, and you should, and being able to start a fire 5 different ways, and you should be able to, or being able to live a bare subsistence life, and you should be able to. But they thought that's all it was. And so when they are hit with something from the way the world is now, because, see, they're preparing to live after a collapse. They're not preparing to live better now, and you should be. That's what I always talk about. Be able to prepare so that you can not only live well later, but improve your life today. Improve the quality of your life. And that can mean, I know people that put people down who go out to eat. They say, for what you go out and spend for dinner, you could buy another week's worth of food. Well, how about if I buy that week's worth of food and go out to dinner? You see, that's something that they won't consider. Well, you have to be able to do with very little money. Well, how about if you can do that, but you go out and make more money so that you can increase your preps? And what if you increase your skills? And I'm going to be talking about a skill that most preppers, and it's one of the most important ones, but so many preppers, I won't say most, if so many preppers won't develop because they're afraid to. I know. It's amazing, but I'm going to talk about that. And it's one of the most important skills you can have. I'm not going to talk about it now. I'll talk about it on another one. It'll take a lot of people off. And it's not my intention. But my intention is to tell the truth. To tell the truth about how you prepare yourself to live well in the future while continuing to live well and increasingly better now. So, all those guys, all those fighters that hung out and spend their time in fight gyms when they should have been raising their kids, grumbling about the guy who put in the work because he came from affluence. He wasn't from the streets. And he ended up kicking all their asses. Being world champion, undefeated, 8 years. And he's a heck of a man. All those people are still wallowing in their failure and excuses. You know, an excuse is a comfortable bed for a person to lie in who won't put in the work and won't. It's not comfortable, but it makes them feel better. Let me put it that way. When they should put in the work, and they should continue to look at getting better and better and better and better. And I will tell you what, the one that I put up on Patreon earlier, it was about, are you getting better every day? And if you're just trying to find out another way to survive the apocalypse, out in the woods, out in the lean-to, out in the bushcraft, out in the this and that, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. I think all that stuff is great. But you're robbing yourself. You are keeping yourself from really developing real preparedness in the world we live in. And you're not dealing with reality. You're dealing with a fantasy, you know, of some future calamity. And it could come, but I'll tell you what, the people who are increasing their preparedness are going to do a whole lot better than the ones who are continuing to think about, how do I do with nothing? So this, you know, I know this has been pretty straightforward, probably tick a lot of people off. I don't care. I'm here to help. I really am. I'm here to help. I'm here to teach. When I teach people how to fight, I'm real with them. When I teach people how to lose the fat, I'm real with them. When I teach people whatever it is, I'm real with them, and I'm real with you. This is what's holding so many people back. Resentment of people, first off, maybe not understanding how to get ahead, but that's why you should be listening to channels like this instead of one more way to make a tent with a tarp. Not understanding how to do it, and then not doing it, not kicking yourself in the butt and say, yeah, I'm going to do it, and then a resentment of people who have done it or doing more, putting them down about how, you know, these people living in the big cities, you know, they don't know squat. Yeah. Tell you what, they can go eat dinner where they want to and still prep, okay? They can go out and buy the rifle or the pistol they want and still prep. They can buy cars that don't, and trucks and whatever that don't need to be fixed all the time and still prep. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Elevate your expectations. Stop staying, if you're one of those, and I'm speaking to you in love. I really am. Stop being, how do I want to say this? Satisfied. Stop being satisfied with little. And build yourself. You know, if I was saying about this, about skills or intelligence, nobody would argue with it, right? If I said build your intelligence, everybody goes, yeah, that's right. It's build your skills. Yeah, that's right. But as soon as I say build your resources, or build your income, or build your money, or build your, get better vehicles, or get better, whatever it is. Oh, no. That's off the reservation there. That's all about money. We're not about money. We're about, surviving. Stop thinking about surviving and start thinking about living, and that means doing better. Don't let this tyranny of low expectations hold you back, because that's what is holding so many people back. Okay, guys, if you want to know how to do the whole thing and you haven't read my books, the whole thing is in here. It's a story about a family who was prepared. They weren't rich. They were prepared. They made good decisions, and they built something that allowed them to not just live, but do very well after a total collapse and help other people. You can't help other people if you haven't first established yourself and then established a way to be a resource for other people. So a person who is serious about preparedness should not be the one asking for help, right? Or needing help. They should be the ones out there ready to be able to help other people. That should be you. So work harder, set your sights higher. Don't hold yourself back because either not realizing it can be done or not knowing how to do it or resenting those who have done it. And get at it. Do better. Build yourself into something better. Get better every day. And don't let others hold you back. Okay? Escape that hammock of comfort that comes along with, well, we're all just kind of, in this together and just kind of barely making by. Why do you just want to barely make it through life? Life is life. God gave you one life. Get out there and do something with it and do something better with it today than you did yesterday, and do something better with it tomorrow than you're going to do today. Okay? You all have a good day. I'm going to get out there and do something to make my life better today. I get to work with my family. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. You have a good day. Bye-bye.